My name is John Kaveke. I'm a fashion designer by profession. My work is what we call contemporary. It is made for someone who can fit in almost anywhere. I know the belief, people say that designers are not accessible.
They really need to market themselves more. They haven't done that.
Designers are not affordable.
Fashion doesn't have to be expensive.
For me, my priority is to be with people rather than being up there and alone in the air.
Today, the event is themed Fashion High Tea, which is following on to the English high tea back in the days where the women used to come wearing hats, gloves, men in jackets.
Come to this function, guys are really dressed up, they put on their hats, they're wearing the best outfits, carrying the best bags. I'm wearing design by X Factor, and then of course I'm wearing a Louis Vuitton bag.
I like Gucci ready-to-wear clothes. I love Gucci.
This is my own design. I personally designed it. It's Nairobi Kanga.
To tell you the truth, I saw the ad and they required a jacket, so I got one of my work jackets.
I don't have one particular dress, and I don't think style can be defined. It's how you feel, how you want to dress, and not caring what anybody else thinks. It's an expression of your individuality.
My name is John Kaveke. I'm a fashion designer by profession. Fashion has been part of me for a while, but it's just that I didn't understand what it was. So over the years, while still in high school, I used to draw a lot and draw clothes. And I got curious and I started finding about what if there exists something called mixing art, clothes and art. And I realized it was fashion. I started off in a small, almost like 3x3 space, and it was in a market. And I got my first order in that place to make dancing clothes for nursery school kids. And that's actually what started off the whole journey.
From these humble dreams, while still in high school, John Kaveke has grown to establish himself as a must-watch menswear designer in Africa and beyond. His undeniable raw talent, complemented by training at a local fashion college, has seen him work for various labels before he set up his own brand, Kaveke. This brand is now redefining menswear as a whole.
My work is what we call contemporary. It borders between European style and a touch or a glimpse of African. So that is what my fashion is. It is made for someone who can fit in almost anywhere. I was doing women's stuff, and I got to a point where I wanted a challenge. I kept going to the streets, to different people, and they say, "Oh, men don't know style, men don't wear style, men.
I don't think I have a style. Most of the time, most people hate the way I dress. Yeah, because I'm always experimenting.
And so menswear came about just because of that. And I thought, if you want to do menswear, give them something new, try something different. And that's why I use prints, I use colors, because that has not been there. My philosophy about men's suits or men's jacket, they have to be able to look good worn and hand. And that's why if you see some of my pieces, the linings stand out. There's a life inside the lining, there's life outside the jacket. We are now in the heart of Nairobi, the city center. I call Nairobi the small New York. Nairobi is very vibrant, it's very fast. You can actually experience a lot of things within a short period.
Now at the forefront of fashion design in Kenya, John Kaveke has over the last 10 years seen trends change in his capital city of Nairobi. What does he see as the influence of what people are wearing around him?
The scenes in Nairobi have tremendously changed in terms of how people dress. Having been in the industry for over 10 years, I have seen the transformation. Of course, because one, the globe has become one home. There's a lot of influence.
Nairobi fashion and style is versatile. It's cosmopolitan, it's African, it's ethnic, it's fusion, Asian, it's everything.
Afropolitan. It's Afrocentric while still being very cosmopolitan and maybe westernized in terms of the cuts.
When you're in the streets, you get an energy of people who use a lot of the internet to get their fashion sense. So they dress like pop stars, or they dress like musicians, or they dress just like an icon.
We've got a lot of American influences, a lot of English influences. So we wear whatever it is that is trendy around the world.
We really try to copy. Nairobi fashion really tries to copy a lot on what they see on television.
The other thing that has allowed us to be the way we are is also the introduction of small businesses, which we call the stalls in Kenya. The stalls have allowed people to import stuff from China, Thailand. Even the people who are now importing these things are aware of fashion. They are aware of what is selling. So when they import and bring it here, they influence people to dress in that way because that's what's in the market and that's what they offer. But of course, there's the other media that we don't think about very much, which is the second-hand market. Because of the availability, because of the accessibility, then you get a chance to buy stuff that you only see in the magazines, on the TV, because you can afford it.
I love second-hand clothes. And also, fashion doesn't have to be expensive. You can mix expensive with really cheap. And we're really lucky that some of those second-hand clothes are actually designer clothes coming from Europe and America. Some people don't like it. They don't like the fact that we're doing that instead of promoting local fashion. But I think to some point it has to be done because it's affordable and it's different from what is available locally.
I love second-hand clothes, especially in Kenya, because when you buy a piece, then you can be sure it's going to be unique. You're going to be sure that there's a really 1 in like 500 chance where someone else found the same piece. I do love second-hand clothes.
I would say pretty much about maybe 70%, this is me, 70% of what you see in Nairobi is second-hand stuff.
Amongst his influences on Nairobi fashion, used clothing, which is locally referred to in Kenya's mitumba, stands out. One cannot have a conversation about fashion in Africa without talking about mitumba, Kenya's used clothing industry. It's loved by some for its affordability and accessibility, but not others who blame it for the lack of a vibrant local textile and fashion industry. The used clothing trade is bustling in Kenya, driving fashion as well as employment in the informal sector. Used clothing from Western countries is sorted into different categories such as jackets, sportswear and shirts, packed in bales, shipped and finally arrives here at the biggest second-hand clothing wholesale market in East Africa, Gikomba. Jane Damaris makes a living through selling second-hand clothes, and for the last 10 years, she has been making her way to Gikomba market every morning to source for garments to resell at her shop. The second-hand clothes industry and Damaris's choices at the market every morning largely influence what many Nairobi fashionistas are wearing.
I'm looking for something I like, something I know I can sell. I have to like it myself first. If I like it, I know my clients also will like it.
Even second-hand clothing attracts different classes for both sellers and buyers. At the Gikomba market, mitumba is often divided based on quality and type. When a bale is opened, a veteran trader like Damaris gets first choice, the best of the bale. In market lingo, this is referred to as camera.
Of course, if you relax, you might not get what you need because it's hustling. Yeah, if you're not tough, you might go back. You might go home without anything. With me, there's no competition between me, Mutumba, and the new things. I have confidence with what I have in Mutumba. Yes, because I'm getting good things. They're serving my clients well. So why should I worry about my competitor?
While Damaris sees no competition between mitumba and new items of clothing, her business, which greatly defines local fashion, however poses a threat to designers like John Kaveke. With the easy availability of cheap, fashionable, second-hand clothes, the reality is that not many are wearing designs created by local fashion designers like him.
Yes, it is competing in a certain level because what it means is that when there is more of the second-hand stuff available, it means more people are moving away from ready-made or making outfits to go to the mitumba. Now someone like me has to design a level ahead. I have to think harder so that mitumba doesn't compete with me.
John too has not escaped the influence of mitumba. He comes here to toy market in the Nairobi informal settlement of Kibera, where shoppers hunt for the best deals on clothing items. His is somehow a love-hate relationship with mitumba. Though it poses a threat to his work, John also draws a lot of inspiration from mitumba.
As much as I design clothes, I am terrible at designing clothes for myself. I wear them second-hand all the time.
Naenda kuna kitu na make sahi. Ita create na material tofauti.
When I was starting out, some of the tailoring skills or some of the quality stuff that I use on my garments, I discovered them through mitumba. How? I used to go to the mitumba stores or in the second-hand market and buy an item. Say maybe I love to make a jacket, but I'm dissatisfied with the way they look. Maybe I don't like the way they look. But when I see a mitumba one, it looks different from the one I make. And I would go rip it apart, check out the finishing inside, then reconstruct it so that I can understand how they cut it and how they made it. So then that is why it became a source of inspiration. it's offering a lifestyle that someone only wishes and dreams about, that now you're giving them an opportunity to experience it.
After muscling her way through the multitude of traders in the market every morning, Damaris makes her way to her shop in upmarket Westlands, where the price of clothing purchased from the market hours before can easily double or triple. Prices vary depending on the target market, and in upmarket areas, unlike places like Gikomba and toy markets, mitumba can be relatively pricey for similar items of clothing. It's a lifestyle for many. Perceptions of mitumba are changing in Nairobi. It's no longer just for the poor. Now everyone, the rich, the poor, the famous, even foreigners, buy mitumba clothing, whether or not they like to admit it.
The fitting here, it's
Very
nice.
nice.
The way I find it hard to find dresses that fit me like this. My name is Geraldine, and I'm a lawyer. I love shopping here, first of all, because I like second-hand clothes because they are very unique, and it's not easy to find somebody wearing the same thing, and also the quality is very, very good, and the prices for sure.
I've seen people change very much because of Mtumba. Most of the people I started with, we are still together, and I've seen even them change their ways of dressing. The way they used to dress when they came to me that time is not the way they are dressing today.
So a lot of people, when they come, the expectations are very high in terms of where I work from, who works for me, how big is my studio, and when they come and find it's a reasonable size for me, it's a surprise, and I like it because for me it doesn't matter where I work from. It's what I do. It's what I offer. That's the biggest thing for me. And Kaveke, the word Kaveke means a little seed. So it's not the bigger things of life that excite me. It's the little things of life. Yeah.
It is this mentality that has gotten John's label Kaveke recognized internationally.
At first, when I got the email saying, would you be interested in doing London Fashion Week? Of course, I didn't. I read it and I was like, no, really, come on. I'm used to these hawks. It was special in the sense that, first of all, Kenya is not a fashion capital. We are known for certain things, but not fashion. And to be able to be handpicked amongst, the big towns of fashion in Africa, that was special.
History is the core of Kaveke's fashion, and for his Spring-Summer 2012 collection at London Fashion Week, he used the traditional kanga. He also had influences from the old colonial era, fusing culture with history. The collection dubbed Askari Kanga, referring to the native police forces in East African territories dating back to the 19th century, saw tailored jackets for men with kanga accents on the inner leg and back sleeve.
Kanga is a locally produced material made out of cotton. Now, a kanga cannot be a kanga if it doesn't have the saying. I think for me, I was looking for a fabric that can be considered Kenyan, And that helps because it separates you from other other African designers, because they probably have a different fabric. The whole collection had a story to tell, so they had to be consistent in the look and the style or the pattern. So I picked up specific Swahili sayings to be printed on t-shirts, purely maybe because I was passing a message on to one or two of my friends. One of the methalis I used was called Mwenye Wivu Ajinyonge, and it just means if you have jealousy, that's your own problem. It's like I'm moving on. So it's purely to address on some people who are a bit resistant to some of the ideas, or had questions as to why or how did you get to London Fashion Week.
While such fashion events promote local fashion on the runway, it's a different story off the runway on Nairobi streets. Few people wear local designs on a regular basis. While John's designs are famous on international runways, locally he does not have the popularity he would want, and it's not only Mutumba that is to blame.
Maybe our designers haven't really come out to make clothes that will make probably the youth feel chic and sexy and elegant at the same time, still look, good.
Right now you're more onto the classic casual, so you want to look a bit not too dressed up and a bit semi-casual. And I think the African designers are struggling a bit with that.
We have beautiful material to make beautiful clothes in Nairobi, and I think we're not embracing it as much as we should.
Local designers are yet to be brought so much out there. They really need to market themselves more. They haven't done that yet. They haven't marketed themselves more. I think they need to market themselves more. And also, secondly, people tend to think it's expensive.
I know the belief, people say that designers are not accessible, designers are not affordable. An average cost of a Kaveke jacket would be the least would be about 8K. Now 8K is reasonable. This is tailor-made. This is not, it's not something I have like 10 pieces of that. This is one piece I've just made you for that price, and that's affordable. If you look at a jacket, a man's jacket, if you go to a store, you're looking at a suit for maybe about, the least you'd get is like 15K. It's not a bad price. Well, a lot of people believe that once you start becoming famous, or once you start climbing the ladder, you lose contact with people. For me, my priority is to be with people rather than being up there and alone in the air.
While Mitumba may be a fashionable, cheap bargain for many people, critics say it hurts Kenya's struggling textile industry. The textile industry's collapse in the 1980s had a visible impact on both the economy and culture of Kenya. The textile sector and its production of kanga and kitenge had once been the focus of the country's economic development policy, as well as its cultural strategy to develop a symbol of Kenyan identity. Kanga and kitenge, relatively inexpensive, colorful printed cotton fabrics, communicate feelings, traditions, and cultures through various colors, patterns, and design symbols.
This is one of the stores I buy fabrics. Right now I do a lot of corduroy, which is this. I do a bit of linen, and I use chiffon or organza. This is because I do a lot of Victorian style inspired collection. So whenever I'm doing elaborate pieces, then I use stuff like organza.
Me, I prefer this for a man. This brown and the beige.
If you don't have, for example, like the textile fabrics that define you, then you're just like any other person. Even having had, kanga being produced here, it still lacks variety, and so it kills an idea that I may have.
Yeah, you can make a combination. No, not that one.
I like to put different colors.
The lack of kanga and kitenge production damages the cultural identity of Kenya. For designers like John, it means a lack of variety of locally printed textiles, limiting his design ideas.
But this is another thing.
We have lost our identity in the sense that we are now embracing more of the foreign fabrics. We have forgotten what we have. We do have all these resources. We do grow cotton in Kenya, but we export it rather than using it here.
Before the collapse of the cotton industry in Kenya, there was a good business because we used to sell a lot in terms of kangas. We have the kikois, traditional, it's very well known worldwide. Now there is a problem. There is a shortage of almost everything. Our shop here, what we have, it's locally made, locally manufactured, but only what is affecting us is the price, because what you can afford is what you will wear. So with the prices going up, like on the locally made t-shirts, locally made shirts, it's it becomes difficult for the Kenyans, the local Kenyan, to come and buy a t-shirt for 800, while he can afford a mtumba at 100 shillings each.
John Kaveke has established his brand, making exclusive one-off designs. How does he hope to redefine his brand in future in order to meet the hunger of a growing fashion market and ensure his survival?
The way I look at my brand, as much as I have the value of wanting to design in bits, at the end of the day, if I'm to make a livelihood out of fashion, I need to be able to expand. Now, expanding for me is not really mass production, but being able to supply certain shops with a certain quantity. I still want people to experience the value of the brand, and the value of the brand is to give people exclusive ideas that probably you feel special wearing it.
If the problem is indeed that the younger generations do not want to wear outdated traditional attire, but instead crave for the sort of sophistication and modernity promised in the pages of American and European magazines, many will continue turning to the culture of used clothing in a quick attempt to fill these fashion desires. Aware of these challenges, John Kaveke now realizes his designs have to be a cut above the rest for his survival.
When I look at it from a different perspective, I think it's for us designers to offer quality and sustainable items. Why people go to mtumba is purely because one, it's affordable. Two, it's you probably won't get a copy of that. And three, it's easy access. And likewise, for us designers, we need to be able to have quality stuff. The construction has to be on top.